Maybe more people can join us as we unfold with the program. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining today. This is another Web3 Africa workshop. And as you know it, we are always looking for the sweetest, craziest, baddest thing out there to incentivize, to teach, to make sure that you are upgraded and you know the next thing that is happening in and upgrade your Web3 skills. And once again, we brought in another great builder that is a developer advocate at Clayton to show us what Clayton is. And this is more about the doing rather than the talking. So it's more about showing us and let us see, let us follow through rather than just telling us. And today we brought in Ayomitan Pamilerin to talk to us about how we can onboard folks easily to Kai. Kai is a Clayton thing. I just as you guys, I would also be taking a backseat to learn from this conversation. And we will be looking at onboarding people easily on Kai using social login. So without much further ado, I just don't want to say so much. I want to hand over the reins and the driver's seat to Pamilerin to take over. So please pay attention. And Pamilerin, it's all yours. Take us from here.
All right. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. I'm pretty much excited to be here. And like Koa said, my name is Pamilerin. Pretty much it. I want to welcome everybody to this session leaving one or two things that I have been doing over the weekend to join the session, and pretty much it. In this session, I'll be talking about onboarding users to Kaia and pretty much any EVM compatible blockchain using social login. So we'll be talking about the why do we need social login, how to actually implement this using particle network. And we'll also be looking at the big picture, how we can also extend onboarding users through social applications themselves, right? So yeah, pretty much what I want to do today. And let me just quickly share my screen and we just get started. Just to confirm, can you all hear me well?
All right. Okay.
Oh, nice. Let me just basically. So can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, nice. Okay, so pretty much we'll be talking about onboarding users on Kaia with social logins. And pretty much before we start, I want to quickly do a brief introduction about myself. My name is Ayomitan Pamilerin, and on socials, I go by the name OX Pam, which is a little bit of a so it's like a connection between OX, which is hexadecimal, and also Pamilerin, Pam in Nigeria, basically. So it's like a combination of OX and Pam all together. And so pretty much what I do, I'm a developer advocate currently. I work at Kaia Foundation. And also in my free time, I do some kind of open source activities contribution, and also help other people contribute to open source in Web3 space. So yeah, if you want to contribute to open source, I might have one or two things to help you get started contributing to open source, in as much as probably your first time, whether you are new to contributing to open source or you are practically a seasoned open source contributor. And also you can get to reach out to me on LinkedIn, OX Pam, and also on Twitter, which is now X, OX Pam. All right. So pretty much a little bit of introduction about myself, and be going right into today's topic or section, which is actually onboarding users to Kaia using social login. But before jumping or deep diving into all of those things, I quickly want to do a quick overview of what Kaia is all about, what we do, the directions, and our current phase, the origin story, and pretty much where we are going, basically. All right, so let's sit back and also let's enjoy. All right, so over the past years, we have been seeing quite a number of Web3 adoption globally, right? We're talking about Web3 in different space for different use cases globally, and it's really, really fascinating. But yeah, in the Asian industry, basically, we have been seeing quite a number of fragmentation as to the fact that is kind of like siloed in like Asian markets, right? And we currently are working on expanding this base. At the moment, or as it is, the Asian market contributes to 37% of the global GDP, and also 77% of countries in Asia record like high cryptocurrency holding volume. And so take, for instance, countries like Vietnam, Singapore, Japan, Thailand, they have like a record of holding cryptocurrencies really, really high in the space, right? So considering all of this all together, and at the moment, the blockchain value, meaning that the current blockchain space or the current blockchain ecosystem in the Asia markets is really, really low compared to like all of these volumes that I've mentioned. Take, for instance, the crypto holding and also the fact that the Asian market drives 37% of the global GDP. So this need is what has positioned or is what Kaia tends to like solve, to be the one leading Asia's Web3 largest ecosystem, basically. So Asia in itself has like a wide range of users, right? A wide range of crypto native who are actually holding cryptocurrency. And like I mentioned, the blockchain value itself, the blockchain ecosystem is still not really fully matured. It has like a really, really fragmented area. And so this is where Kaia is looking into to like kind of like build the largest Web3 ecosystem in Asia, basically. And as you can see from this image, we have two logos. We have Clayton and we also have Finchia. So Kaia is like the amalgamation between two blockchains. Really, really fascinating, right? So it means that two blockchains are coming together to basically drive adoption or Web3 adoption in Asia and in the global world, basically. Also, having said that, let me quickly like do a breakdown of each of these ecosystems, right? Clayton and also Finchia. Right, so Clayton itself boasts itself to be like the #1 infrastructure assets in Asia. So currently we are like an EVM compatible blockchain. We are an EVM based blockchain. We have like 30 plus governance council who are responsible for running nodes to ensure that transactions are being validated and added to the blockchain. We have up to like 29 million wallet users and a community of 240,000. And also for Finchia, they actually boast to be like the #1 product assets in Asia, leveraging different products, technology, from payments, socials, to marketplaces and all of those things. And also they have like 15 plus governance council. They have over 170K community. And also this blockchain, Finchia, is being backed by Line. Line is meant to be like the biggest technology company in SCEA, right? So, and also Kakao is actually the one that has backed Clayton and is like the biggest tech company in South Korea. So all of these things put together is what Kaia leverages to live on the fact that we are trying to establish Asia's leading Web3 ecosystem, right? So moving forward, I've kind of like established the origin, how that Kaia is like amalgamation of two blockchain, Clayton and Finchia. So currently we are in the phase of amalgamation and we are trying to like finalize the amalgamation between these two blockchain. And so in the meantime, I'll be focusing on Clayton tech because moving forward, this is what will be the facing or the face of like the technology of the Kaia technology. All right, so having said that, let me quickly like break down Clayton in a nutshell, what Clayton is, right? Technologically, what we are focusing on, and some of like the unique selling points, right? So first thing first, Kaia itself, or formerly Clayton, is an EVM compatible public layer 1 blockchain. So for people who are familiar like with the blockchain space, when we say EVM is more like a runtime environment for smart contracts. And a smart contract is basically a piece of code that runs on the blockchain when you want to execute like logics, and these logics are deployed on chain and it becomes a smart contract, right? So the EVM is like the runtime environment to like process all of those things. And so before you like write logic on chain, you have to be able to write them in high-level language, which is Solidity. And so the EVM basically helps us to like compile Solidity into bytecode such that they are now able to run on the blockchain. So this means that you can run smart contracts on Kaia because Kaia is first and EVM compatible public layer one blockchain, right? So the next thing I want to mention is that Kaia actually, Clayton itself launched sometimes in 2019, and just like every other blockchain, right, which has consensus algorithm. For the sake of those who don't know, consensus algorithm is a way where nodes come together to agree to validate transactions before they are added to the blockchain, right? So for different blockchain, take for instance, for Bitcoin, it is proof of work. For Ethereum, kind of migrated to proof of stake. And so for Kaia, right, at the moment, we are currently using Istanbul Byzantine fault tolerance based consensus algorithm, right? And so this is what kind of like fosters the optimal transaction and scalability of the Kaia blockchain, basically. And so to be able to reach a consensus in Kaia blockchain, we basically need governance council who are actually focused on running nodes to like validate transaction and add them to the blockchain. So at the moment, we have over 36 global companies that are actually running governance, or they are running, they are operating nodes on Kaia, basically, right? Moving forward, we also have unique accounts, right, and transaction model. So usually in the blockchain space or in the Web3 space generally, there's something called accounts, right? So accounts is like your chain identity where you basically get to do stuff. So an account can be divided into two, which is externally owned account and smart contract account. And so for this case, I'll be focusing majorly on externally owned account, which is EOA, right? And so for EOA, usually they actually comprised of a key pair, right, which is private key and public key. And so this private key and public key in itself, they have like a limitation in the sense that, bless me, in the sense that once your private key has been compromised, you literally cannot get it back, and all of your account is gone, all of your funds in your account, they are all gone. So for Kaia, at the core of Kaia, what we actually do is that we enable decoupling of key pairs. Now, what does this mean, basically? This basically means that you can decouple your key pair. Take, for instance, your private key and your public key. And anytime there's like an hack in your account, you can update your private key. Now, this must have been done in advance before your account is being hacked, because of course, once your account is hacked, all of your funds is gone, right? But you must have done this in advance such that you program your accounts to be able to update itself naturally once there is like a leak in your private key. Now, we also have transaction model. And so for each of these decoupling, right, take for instance, when you decouple a key pair on Kaia, it also has different rules. So a private key can be for signing transactions that are for value transfers, or signing transactions that are for smart contract execution, or basically for fee delegation and all of those things, right? So we have different transaction models. We have fee delegation, value transfer, smart contract execution, and all of those things. So these are like the unique features of Kaia, right? So compared to like every other blockchain, especially in the Ethereum ecosystem, we don't have that native feature where you can easily decouple your accounts, right? Also, Kaia supports the usual key pair for keys, right? Where it has one private key and one public key, right? So moving forward, we're also driving real change, focusing on RWA and real-world assets tokenization, and also digital ownership, and also Asia expansion. Okay, so moving forward, we have 1 second block finality. So usually, when it comes to like consensus algorithm for most blockchains, it takes like kind of time for them to like propagate the block and add them to the blockchain. But for Kaia, it takes like 1 second for your block to be finalized and added to the blockchain. And this is really, really useful for, take for instance, applications around enterprise applications or even gaming applications. Because take for instance, if you are playing a game, you don't have to wait for like 3 minutes or 10 seconds or 15 seconds before your transactions are validated, which of course is like a bit of a mess for like user experience, right? Also, we boast of 4,000 transactions per second, meaning that it can process up to 4,000 transactions per second. Also, it has low transaction fees. Pretty much, it has low transaction fee, meaning that compared to Ethereum, you can easily pay for gas on Kaia, and most times they are you can easily ignore the fees because they are not so heavy on the users. Also, on the right, we have the Clayton Governance Council. We have quite a number of Governance Council members, and we have up to 36 Governance Council members. They are global companies in the Web3 space. We have DWF Labs, Binance, Kakao, GroundX, and pretty much a number of them. All right, moving forward. So before I kind of like move forward to like, why do we actually need social logins? I've been able to like break down Kaia, what we do, the history basically, and how that now where we are in the transition or the amalgamation phase, and what the technology looks like. And so I want to kind of like summarize that Kaia is an EVM compatible public blockchain, meaning that it positions itself as the foundational layer for the on-chain world, right? It uses Istanbul Byzantine fault tolerance as its consensus algorithm. It has unique accounts and also transaction model. It boasts of 1 second block finality, 4,000 transactions per second, and also low fees. All right, moving forward. So now we are currently like over to the actual core of today's talk, which is onboarding users with social logins on your decentralized application on Kaia. Now, why do we actually need this, right? So this is like a screenshot from the Ethereum documentation talking about improving user experience, right? It kind of mentioned that it is too complex to use Ethereum for most people, right? I think most of us will agree with this because for a non-native Web3 user, when the person comes on board to want to use Web3 application, it's kind of too complex, right? Take for instance, from having to create your wallet to having to manually write down your seed phrases to having to securely store those seed phrases such that if such that you don't lose those seed phrases basically. So it's a little bit of it's like a lot of work for like non-native Web3 users, right? You have to manually write down your seed phrase. You have to actually cater for not losing your seed phrase, because if you do, all of your funds will be siphoned and you do not literally have access to your account anymore. All right, so this is like a barrier, right? And so for us to reach that mass adoption, we have to be able to drastically lower barrier to entry. We have to be able to create a seamless way where people can be onboarded into Web3 or into, take for instance, using Web3 applications, right? So I quickly want to draw a line from this sentence, which means that Ethereum must be as frictionless as using a traditional Web2 app, which means that any user that is coming on chain must be able to use Ethereum. It must be frictionless as using a traditional Web2 app, right? So this brings us to the next thing, which is the fact that the first thing is that there is friction in onboarding, right? So I'm pretty much sure that a lot of us have been here. We we basically have written down our seed phrase one time, at one point before or another, right? So the fact is that most people, for first-time users, when they come on board, they have to like write down their seed phrase. So this is an image where somebody has written down their seed phrase, and then this is like an hardware ledger, basically, and you literally have to bother about all of these things, right? Private key management, and it's like an hassle, right? So take for instance myself, I've been here before, literally trying to write down my seed phrase. Basically, I have to maintain my seed phrase, the fact that it doesn't have to be missing. And so the funny part is I'm not so sure most of us who have gone through this process have access to this seed phrase anymore. Take, for instance, myself, the first account I created, I'm not so sure I still have access to the seed phrase anymore. I've created tons and tons of accounts, all right? So this is what we are talking about, right? So for first-time users, it's usually difficult for them to be able to maintain this flow, basically, to see to their private key management, right? To be able to keep their seed phrases, right? So I wrote here that the last thing you want is to lose your users before they even start using your applications, right? So pretty much you don't want to lose your users before they start using your application, because take, for instance, this current flow takes like 10 minutes, if I'm not wrong. They have to write down their seed phrase. They have to securely be in charge of their seed phrase, basically, and ensure that this seed phrase is not missing. They don't have to bother about anybody stealing their seed phrase and all of those things. So it's a bit of an hassle. And so this is where we kind of like, oh, what can be the solution, right? Or what's the way out where people can be seamlessly onboarded to Web3 and there won't be like some kind of mix-up or any hassle in onboarding, basically. So myself, I asked myself a question that, okay, so what's the difference between Web3 logins and Web2 logins? Also, the first point is that Web2 logins helps you to like, take for instance, if you want to create an account in any application, you have to first write your name, your email, your password, even if your address, your number, all of those things. And I mean, one good thing is that once you forget your password, there are options for forgot password, and you can recover your account in a way. But for Web3, it's not the same at all, right? Once your seed phrase is gone, or once your private key has been hacked, you literally do not have access to your account again. And now this is where the difference comes in. The flow is no longer seamless, basically. The flow is no longer seamless. It's a lot of hassle, and users are in a state of, what's it called now? Chaos and all of those things. So what's the way out? The way out is that most people are familiar with Web2 application onboarding method. Take, for instance, myself. I use a lot of application in the Web2 space, right? And one of the sweet things that I like about the login method is the fact that you can log in with Google sign-in, and under 2 clicks, you have registered with a particular account, right? It's really, really amazing, because before you have to do quite a number of user registration, your number, your address, and all of those things. But with Google sign-in, it takes just 2 clicks. It takes your Google account information and you're onboarded. So for most of my applications, I use Google sign-in because to me, it resonates with me. I don't have to bother about all of those onboarding stress. I don't have to be stressed while being onboarded and all of those things. So the way forward for onboarding users to Web3, in my opinion, is using social logins, because they are familiar with some of these social logins like Facebook, email, Twitter, or even, what's it called now? Gmail, or even Apple ID and all of those things. So yeah, quite a number of social logins that are available in the space. So the proposition for the social login is to onboard users using their already familiar social networks, right? So take, for instance, I use Google account a lot. When I'm coming to Web2, right, or when I'm coming to Web3, the experience is the same. All I have to do is come with my Google sign-in, and under the hood, it generates the wallet for me through that social login without me having to manage my private key myself. And so all of this experience becomes intertwined, and it becomes seamless for a non-native Web3 user. So this is where social login comes in. So social login is you enabling users to be able to log into a decentralized application using their already familiar social network sites, such as Twitter, Facebook, Discord, or even their email, Google accounts, or phone numbers, right? So like I mentioned, these login methods are ones that they are familiar with Web2 users, right? They are quite familiar with Twitter. They use Twitter all the time. They are quite familiar with Facebook. They use Facebook all the time. They are familiar with Google sign-in. Take, for instance, myself, I use Google sign-in almost all the time, and it just makes sense. So what social logins helps us do is that it helps users to log in to decentralized application using their already familiar social network sites, and it makes onboarding really, really seamless. And now this is where the sweet part comes in, because it goes from 10 minutes of onboarding flow to like less than 10 seconds onboarding flow, right? Because in just 2 clicks, you can log in to a decentralized application and you can start doing whatever thing you want to do. Right? So this is where social login comes in. And so currently in the space, we have quite a number of social login providers. We have Web3 Auth, we have Privy, we have Particle Network, we have Magic. And I think I stumbled on one recently called Dynamic. I've not been able to like do some kind of check on that. And I'm pretty much sure they are doing quite a number of amazing stuff in the space. And so for this demo, we'll be looking at implementing social login in your decentralized application to onboard users on Kaia using Particle Network, right? So I wrote here that don't just increase conversion, increase the amount of potential users for your application. Now, when you can streamline the onboarding flow from 10 minutes to less than 10 seconds, or in just 1 click, is a lot, because you'll be able to convert more users. More people will be easily attracted to your application because your onboarding process, your UX is great, right? So moving forward, so today we'll be focusing on Particle Network, right? So Particle Network actually helps us implement social login in our decentralized application. Now they have moved on to providing solutions around chain abstraction, and also that they are still providing solutions around social logins and smart wallet as a service. And so, yeah, let me quickly break down Particle Network, right? Because this is what we'll be using. We're using their SDK for building the social login implementation in our demo, right? So, yeah, Particle Network in itself provides Web2 and Web3 authentication, meaning that you can sign into your decentralized application using already familiar social network sites. Take, for instance, we have email, your phone number, Google sign-in, Apple, or even Facebook, right? And also you can use Particle Connect. Particle Connect is an aggregation of different Web3 wallets. Take, for instance, for Web3 natives who are kind of like familiar with the space, they can use different wallets that they are familiar with. Take, for instance, Coinbase, Trust wallets, MetaMask, or even Rainbow wallets, right? So yeah, this is one of the services provided by Particle Network. Bless me. So we have Web2 and Web3 authentication, basically, meaning that non-native Web3 users can be easily onboarded to Kaia or to any blockchain that this provider supports. And it takes onboarding flow from 10 minutes to less than 10 seconds, right? So how does Particle Network implement security under the hood, right? So Particle Network uses MPC TSS, which is multi-party computation, threshold, secret sharing. Now, how does this work? So this is like a cryptographical method in which secrets are being shared amidst each other in different locations, right? So take, for instance, once you log in using Particle Network, your device has a store of the secret of your private key, right? And also at the other end, Particle Network also has a store of the private key. And so using this all together, it kind of enhances security for your private key, right? So this is how they like work around private key management and also security, basically. So it also uses key management services. So just like every other social login provider like Web3 Auth, Privy, and also take, for instance, Dynamic or Magic, they basically use different security measures, right? But for Particle Network, he actually uses MPC TSS. Moving forward, he also has all-in-one dev flow, meaning that he has different packages for developers or for people who wants to build amazing solutions. It has wallet SDK. You can customize your wallet, right? Because so once you are onboarded with your social logins, it creates a wallet for you out of the box, right? And this wallet is not like an extension. It is embedded in the decentralized application, right? So this is where it actually makes sense because you don't have to bother about naturally installing Chrome extension wallet or any type of wallet, basically. All right, so having said that, let's quickly take a look at a practical example, right? So this is an example of a decentralized application that uses social login, right? So this is Izumi. Izumi is a multi-chain DeFi protocol that allows provision of liquidity. So let's quickly go over to Izumi and let's see what Izumi does basically. 1 minute. Can you all see my screen? Hello.
Yes, I can see it.
Oh, nice. Thank you for your response. Oh yeah, so we have Izumi app. Basically, this is a decentralized application. And once you click on Connect Wallet, as you can see, it has various providers, MetaMask, Wallet Connect, OKX, Token Pockets, and all of those things. Then it has Particle Network, right? So once you click on Particle, it basically pops up the social network sites that you are familiar with. So take, for instance, if you are a non-Web3 native, basically, and you just want to like test out stuff, you don't want to go through the hassle of having to create MetaMask accounts, having to manually write down your seed phrase or all of those things. All you have to do is basically use Particle Network, social login implementation. And so this is your email. This is Google sign-in. This is Apple, Facebook, GitHub, Twitter. And so once you click on this, it basically connects you to the application, right? So let's quickly, so this is what social logins actually helps you do. So social logins basically helps us reduce churn rate and increase conversion rates. Basically, let me check this. All right, so moving back to our slides. Okay. All right, so yeah, we are back to our slides. So having shown that, they've been able to see that we can connect to a decentralized application using social logins. Like I said, it basically reduces churn rates and increase conversion rates where people can be easily onboarded to your decentralized application, basically. All right, so let's take a practical look at how this is done. So I've actually implemented a social login implementation used in React, basically. And I just quickly want to walk us through what I've done. And yeah, that's it. So for this demo, I built out an application, which is like a token gating application, right? So take, for instance, people is like an event token gating platform. Take, for instance, for this section, if you are registered on Luma and you have your NFT, you can enter into this section, right? But if you don't have your registration NFT, you cannot get access to this session. So this is what this application is all about. If you have minted the registration NFT, you can have access to this session. If you have not, it gives you the permission to be able to mint your registration NFT, and now you can now have access to it. But in this case, we leveraged social logins, right? We took off all of the connect wallets, whatever, or connect your wallet and all of those things. So we'll be using Google Sign In or sign in with X. All right, so let's get straight into it. Let me stop sharing this and share my. Right, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see us.
Oh, nice. Thank you very much. So yeah, this is like a token gating platform, right? Let me quickly walk over the. All right, so yeah, I quickly want to go over the dependencies. So majority of like the dependencies here is actually focused on particle network. So because we are actually using particle network, really, we have installed all of the dependencies from particle network AA to authentication to the chains to the providers, and pretty much it. We have all of our dependencies. This is like a React application, and now moving forward, I want to show us the index.js, which is really important for this application. And so now we have, so we are importing Clayton and also Clayton testnet at the moment, which is Kairos testnet, right, into our application. So this is what we want. These are the network we want to be supported for this decentralized application. Also, we have the context provider from Particle Network. And also for this to actually work, we have to set all of our project ID, client key, and also app ID. So for this, you can head over to what's it called? Wallet Connect. You create your own dashboard, and you basically just get access to all of these three components, basically. All right, so moving forward, this current application supports Clayton and also Clayton testnet, which is now Kairos testnet, right? Moving forward, let me go over to the constants. I have my ABI. So like I mentioned, this application actually helps us check if a particular user have a registration NFT, and if it doesn't have access to the content or the event. But if the person has that NFT, it basically gives them access to the event. All right, so this is just like a simple implementation for showing or demonstrating social logins. So yeah, this is like the API of an NFT contract that I'll be using for this demonstration. And I've just exported this from Remix ID. And pretty much, we also have the contract address, which I have deployed on Remix. So these are like the constants that we have for this application. Moving forward, we have app.css, which basically houses our styles, our custom styling, and also in our app.js. Now, this is where most of the work is being done. We are basically focusing on using particle network. So we have use Ethereum, use Connect, use Oscar. So these three things is what we are using basically for initializing the connection to the blockchain, right? So the first part, use Ethereum provides us access to the provider and also the current address connected. And also use connect provides us methods to connect and also to disconnect from the application. We also have user info, basically, which is the core of this application, right? Because once a user sign in, it returns the user info. Take, for instance, if a user sign in with their Gmail, it returns their user info. Take, for instance, their email. If it is so@gmail.com. If I sign in with my Twitter account, it returns my user info. And take, for instance, so expambam.clay or something, right? So yeah, we also have different states. We basically set the states, the balance, and because we want to try to get the balance of the connected user if they have an NFT. And if they don't have an NFT, you basically display some kind of content. If they have an NFT, you do some kind of conditional rendering, right? So basically, this is what this first part is all about. We also have a use effect that loads the balance of the user each time. Now, this is a fetch balance contract. We basically checks if there's a provider and if there's an address. So what we are basically doing is initializing the NFT contract instance, and we are basically checking for the balance of the connected address. Right. Moving forward, we have handle login. So handle login is basically the actual core of this application, right? So what it does is it takes in auth type as an argument. And so auth type can be, what kind of Web2 authentication are you using? Is it Google? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? And all of those things. So once the auth type is passed in, it check if user info does not exist. If user info does not exist, it basically connects them to particle network, right? So it takes in the auth type, take for instance, Twitter and Facebook, and also the current chain that they are on, basically. So we have been able to implement social login in just how many lines of code? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 5 lines of code. So this is the major functionality that handles social login in our application by leveraging particle network, right? So yeah, this is the core functionality of this application, where it handles login using social logins in your application. Now, we also have execute mint, where we basically mint the NFT if the users have not gotten an NFT before. All right, so what we are basically doing is we check if user info does not exist. If it does exist, it renders that a user should sign in with either Google or should sign in with X. All right, as you can see, on click, we are passing in the handle login function, and it takes in Google for signing with Google, and it takes in Twitter for signing with X. Pretty much it checks for the balance. If the balance of the user is greater than 0, it tells them welcome to, take for instance this section. If they don't have an NFT balance greater than 0, it basically tells them that they cannot have access to this section, right? And it either tells them to mint an NFT or they disconnect. All right, so this is pretty much the major functionality that we have built out. So yeah, now let me quickly run this code and all right, so I'm currently sharing the site, right, where it's hosted, the local host, right? Basically, can you all see my screen?
Yes, please.
Amazing. Thank you. So this is like the front end, right? And as you can see, we do not have any connect wallet button, right? We only have sign in with Google, sign in with X, right? So for a non-native Web3 user, if they were to come to this application, they kind of say sign in with Google, and they wouldn't even know if this is like a dApp or, I mean, compared to every other dApp that has connect your wallet, all of those things, and they have to now go to install MetaMask or any type of wallet that is being used for the application. And so for this application, we only have sign in with Google or sign in with X, right? And so when you click on sign in with Google, it brings all of your logged in Google account. Now, I'll not be using sign in with Google, I'll use sign in with X because I want to sign in with my Twitter account, right? So I have to authenticate this, right? Once I authorize this application, it basically checks. Now it's saying that this is my user info, right? Oh, expampam.clay, yada, yada, yada. So this is my current user Twitter username, and it basically just returns my display name on Twitter, right? Pretty much it. Now, because I do not have access to the NFT, it's telling me that I cannot enter into Web3 section, and so I have to mint NFT or disconnect, right? So as you can see, in less than 10 seconds, I was able to onboard a new user to my decentralized application. I mean, without having to now have to write down seed phrases or having to do quite a number of onboarding ASOs and all of those things. But with just a single click, I was able to onboard a new user, right? So on the right-hand side, top left, top down right-hand side, we have a wallet, right? So this is the embedded wallet that Particle Network provides to anybody that uses their social login, right? So at the moment, I have, this is my wallet address, 0x3311203. So I mentioned that I don't have to create a browser type of extension wallet, but rather Particle Network creates a wallet for me natively in the application, right? So I have this wallet address. It's funded already with 49 clay. All right, I did that previously. So now, if you click on the mint NFT, right, you can now sign transactions, right? So it basically just pops up this modal, and you can confirm transactions, you explore on chain, and you basically do what you have to do on chain, right? Yeah. So let's wait for this transaction to be confirmed, and we'll see. So as you can see, this basically returns the transaction hash. And once I copy this and try to check that on Block Explorer, we'll be able to see the details of the transaction. So from cannot enter into the application to welcome to Web3 section, right? So I've been able to get access to the NFT, and now I have access to the content or to this section. So this is what I mean by token gated experience, right? Only people with certain kind of NFTs can have access to this session, right? So this is what token gated experience means. So yeah. 4 minutes, 4 minutes. I quickly want to check for. Yeah, so this is the transaction. So we have from OX33, which is our wallet address over here, right? OX33123. And then we interacted with this contract address or with this smart contract, and then we minted an NFT. So if I go to this account, basically, I should see the KIP17 balance, which is an NFT, right? So this was the NFT that the user got. Thank you for attending kind of POAP. Yeah, pretty much it. So in under like less than 10 seconds, I was able to demonstrate how that a user can log into a decentralized application using social logins, and they don't have to bother about onboarding ASOs such as private key or private key management, or having to write down their seed phrases and all of those things, right? Moving forward, so that's pretty much about the demo. 1 minute. So in the demo I shared just now, right? You can basically, 1 minute. I have basically hosted the code on here, right? You can have access to the code. You basically can test out this code. Head over to GitHub, Ayomitan, Kaia social login example, and all of the code to this demo. You can see them and just basically just test run and explore also. All right, so moving forward, as you can see from the explanation, we've been able to focus on user conversion, right? Growing user conversion basically from 10 minutes to less than 10 seconds. And we're able to create wallets in less than 10 seconds basically. And this is fascinating because we are giving Web3 users that kind of traditional app experience, seamless onboarding, and also great user experience. All right, so moving forward, the big picture, right, for Kaia, right? So Kaia is focused on delivering unique on-chain opportunities for users. So there are quite a number of Web2 users who are like in the traditional space using different social network, right? A practical example of social network in South Korea is Kakao. Kakao is like the biggest tech giant in South Korea. They do quite a number of services around payments, social networking, just name it, right? Also, we have Line. Line also is the biggest social networking site in SCEA, right? So they kind of like have a lot of users, up to like 250 million users. Now, the question is, how do we bring these Web2 users on chain who are easily or who are daily using this social network sites? Take, for instance, because Kaia is focusing in the Asian region, right, trying to build Asia's biggest Web3 ecosystem, right? And they have KakaoTalk and also the Line network, basically. With a user base of 250 million users, how do we bring these people on chain? Now, the way to go about it is to enable the Web2 user base with optimized Web3 experiences, right? How do we get to go about this? So this is still a future development in which is currently in progress, right? So Kaia protocol is ensuring to or is effortlessly ensuring to create mini apps within Messenger, right? So I previously shared these two applications. They are like the two biggest applications in Asia, right? And it boasts of 250 million users. So I talked about onboarding users from a social login perspective, right? Google, Twitter, Facebook, and all of those guys. But how about we onboard them natively in the social network sites, right? And so this is what Kaia is kind of picturing and envisioning, where social network users can be onboarded natively in the social network application. Take, for instance, for KakaoTalk and for Line, they are being easily onboarded. They have access to a wallet in KakaoTalk. They can buy Clay. They can perform on-chain transactions and all of those things, right? So the big picture for Kaia protocol is to be able to create mini apps within the messenger, within these social network sites, and effortlessly increasing the onboarding of Web2 users into Web3. I mean, we have seen this with what Telegram is doing with mini apps also, right? Where they have a blockchain called the Open Network, TON, right? And they have quite a number of applications on Telegram called mini apps, and they are trying to like onboard people on Telegram to like the Web3 space, basically. So this is what I see like to be for the future of onboarding users through social logins, and not just social logins alone, through social networks, right? Yeah, and so how does Kaia intend to do this? By leveraging its fastest and maximized L1. One, it is fully and it is fully EVM compatible. That means that any development environments, toolings, libraries, logic, AIPs, just name it, is actually compatible with Kaia, because Kaia is an EVM compatible blockchain. It is fast and reliable. It has 1 second block finality. Like I mentioned previously, it takes 1 second for your block to be propagated and included into the blockchain, which of course makes it suitable for enterprise application, pretty much for gaming application, and just name it for whatever use case, right? Also, Kaia has something called gas abstraction, which is the fee delegation that I mentioned previously. So fee delegation basically helps us to enable decentralized application to pay for gas on behalf of the users. So take, for instance, when you onboard them using the social login, right? You help them pay for the gas. And so natively on Clayton, we have something called fee delegation, where the enterprise application itself can fund the gas fees, right? And users don't have to bother about the gas fees. I mean, users just want to come and use the application and move out, right? So this is what Kaia will be leveraging on as its own tech, right? So pretty much today we've been able to talk about how to onboard users to how to onboard users in your decentralized application on Kaia using social logins, and also talked about the big picture where users in a particular social network site can be onboarded using mini apps. And we also went through using Particle Network and also a demo of a token-gated environment that uses social logins, and how that social logins helps us reduce onboarding friction and reduces churn rates and increases conversion rates, such that the onboarding time is reduced from 10 minutes to less than 10 seconds. Pretty much it's what I have to show today. I hope I've been able to disseminate the information about social logins. And thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. The code, like I said, you can get it on GitHub if you want to like explore, you want to like kind of like tinker around a little bit and explore how social logins can like be implemented in your application. So the repository is going to get you started, and yeah, you're pretty much on your way to onboarding the next billion users, right? So thank you very much for joining in, and yeah. So we can continue our conversation on social media. If you have any question, if you want to ask question about pretty much anything, yes, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, you can scan this QR code basically. And yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. You can also follow Kaia Foundation on Twitter, on LinkedIn. And yeah, I mean, thank you.
Yeah. We can hear you. All right. Can you hear me? Pamilerin?
Yeah, sure.
Hello? All right. Oh, thank
Hi.
you so much. Yeah, so that was a really extensive, comprehensive session. And just like usual, guys, we're going to have this recording on our YouTube channel. So before Pamilerin goes, I want to give the floor for questions. We often like to have discussions and conversations around whatever has been discussed. So if you have any questions before we conclude, please, you can either unmute your mic or just type it in the chat or raise your hand. We can give you the mic. I'm just gonna wait like let me say 2 minutes for that and leave the